Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of The Bader Show. I'm your host, Mark Bader. This is episode 474, and we are, almost into the postseason here, the 2025-26 wrestling season, college season anyways. Excited to bring on our guest today, a three-time All-American thus far, and a national finalist for Nebraska as Brock Hardy. Brock, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Yeah, you bet. I think fan favorite is fair to say. I got a lot of people like watching you wrestle. They like you, but I want to go back to just like the beginning. I know you. I don't even know the story. You come from a line of wrestlers or a family of wrestlers. I know you're not like the only one. How'd you get involved with wrestling? What were the early days kind of like for you?
Yeah, so I'm the youngest of like 20 cousins that wrestled, and then all my uncles wrestled in that. And I think I started wrestling when I was 3 years old, right? Like that was like the youngest you could be, and wrestle at the little wrestling program in my hometown. And so, I think I can't remember when I haven't been wrestling, I guess. And so got into it because of my family. I got to travel a lot as a kid because I was just following my cousins and my brother around, and so it was a way of life.
So if you get into it when you're three, because it wasn't like probably wasn't like, hey Brock, you want to wrestle, buddy? It was like, hey, we're doing this, right? I'm assuming, and so you were not forced, but you were kind of guided into wrestling. At what point, or maybe it was right then, at what point you're like, I love this and this is my thing and I'm all in and this is what I want to do?
That came much later. Obviously, like when I see my cousins and that doing it, when I saw my brother doing it, I wanted to do what they were doing. So that was part of it. But I remember, so I actually, funny enough, I was really tall as a kid, like really, really tall, like way taller than everyone else. I matured a lot faster, and so I was like 7 or 8. My mom's side of the family's basketball players, and I remember being like, "Dad, I want to try basketball. I want to do this other thing." And he's like, all right, after this year, you can stick it out, and maybe we'll put you in basketball next year to figure it out. And I went to my family always went to the Reno Worlds tournament, and I was like 2 and out each year, like 1 and 2 and 2 and 2. And I remember I was wrestling the first round of the tournament. I was wrestling Braxton Amos, who he had won the tournament every single year the year before. It was my second year, 8 and under, and he was beating the brakes off of me. And it was like mid match, all of a sudden I was like, oh, I think I got this. I think I can figure this out. And I came back and lost by like 2. And then I wrestled all the way back to the tournament and took third. And then essentially since then it was like this is my thing. I like this now. But it was like a switch. All of a sudden it flipped in my head and I was like, okay, this is how you do this. And I can enjoy this.
I'm like not blown away, but like there's this one match when you're 8 when it clicked, or when you thought like, did you ever have thoughts before in the middle of a match that were like so profound, or like it just seems
No, and
like
that's the thing. Like, I don't even know if it was a thought or if it was just all of a sudden it was like everything in my head just all of a sudden it was like, oh, everything you've learned and everything else, all of a sudden it's like, hey, this is how like you do the sport now. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. And I was actually talking to Tervel about it on this last crib because I've seen it in other people where it's like, I mean, everyone knows how to do wrestling for the most part. And you see guys that are really good at wrestling, but they don't, all of a sudden you'll just see it click in their heads and you're like, oh, they get the sport now, especially like in kids and high schoolers and stuff. But yeah, I mean, that was like I don't think most people are going to have a match, but like my dad, I remember him being like, that's it, you figured it out. And then I was like, maybe my dad just brainwashed me to think that I figured it out. I don't know. But it was against Braxton Amos of Reno Worlds.
do you remember coming? So you lost that match, but something clicked. Did you come off the mat and have a conversation with your dad or coach or anybody and be like, oh, something just happened. I get it.
Well, so that was kind of the thing is like, I remember like walking off the mat and it didn't feel like I lost. I remember being kind of like nodding my head. I remember my dad and my coach at the time, Coach Rip, who's also my high school coach, was like, you know, where was that the whole time? You figured it out. And I was kind of like, yeah, I guess you're right. And then it was just kind of like from then, like, I think I was still doing the same moves, but it was just different intention.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can see the moves and you know how they work, but to actually do them is a totally different thing. And it's
Yeah.
like you figured out. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, that's
I'm
great
really
because
lucky it
go
happened so
ahead.
early.
You what?
I'm lucky that it happened so early, right? That I kind of figured it out young.
I was thinking the same. I hear this more on the other side. Like my career's over, and I went back in the room one day, and I understood everything. And it just, and like I understood it differently when I was done. I hear that all the time. But man, everybody wish it would have happened at 8.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Great.
obviously, like, there's different flips in your career of like different things, but that was like the first time that I was like, I like doing this and I know what I need to do now. I know how I need to do it too.
Yeah. Did you ever wrestle Braxton again?
No. So that was the thing. Is so I was really
I got you.
big and then I was tall and lanky. And then I stopped growing in 6th grade and I'm still a little small guy. And now Braxton's heavyweight. I'm
Yeah.
141.
I stopped growing in 6th grade too, if it makes you feel any better. Um, and we actually, I got an old video. It might be your first match on Flow, but we're gonna watch this. I don't think it's Reno. I think this is Cliff Keen. I don't know. Is this Tulsa? I don't know. But this is you. This is 100 pounds, 10 years old. Do you recognize this?
Yes, that is Reno. I remember this exact yes, I know this exact match. Oh my goodness.
What do you remember about this? Or walk me through this. What's going on here?
I don't
It's 100-pound
remember.
finals. I do know that. It's 100-pound finals, 10 years old.
That's I mean, like I said, I was pretty big. Oh my goodness. I remember I was wearing
Yeah,
my
you're
brother's
tall.
singlet. Is that an Alaska singlet that I'm wearing? I think so.
That's you in the blue for those who are watching at home.
Yep. Oh my goodness.
When was the last time
This
you watched
is
yourself wrestle as a kid?
this is it's been a while. I remember I would sit and rewatch this because this was my only match on Flow, and I'm like, man, I'm on Flow. I'm so cool. I want to say my
This is
brother.
back when like what's that?
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
This is
This is
back
back.
when one guy from Flow would show up at a tournament and just run around, and if you hit play on your match, then it got caught. But it's not like
Yeah,
today where everything's streamed and uploaded.
I know. That back when, like I said, that was why I felt so cool. I'm like, they videoed my match. Did I
Oh,
get
what's about
this?
to happen here?
Oh my goodness, did I get this?
Looks like it.
Crossface cradle, baby. That won me so many matches growing up.
Look at how you are a tall drink of water.
I mean, that's the
All
thing.
arms and
They're like,
legs.
oh, he's gonna be a basketball player. Look how tall and skinny he is. And now I'm probably the same height as I am in that video. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
pretty wild. Yeah, I'm glad I found that. That was first place, right? You said before that you were going 0-2 or 1-2, and then you wrestled Braxton a year or two prior. And here
Yeah.
we are, champion 2 years later.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, yeah, that would have been a couple years after that. I remember like that kind of being the flip and the switch. And I remember like Reno Worlds was like our big tournament because it was only 7 hours away drive. And yeah, that was kind of about the time that I was starting to figure it out. Helps when you got long arms, you can cradle people pretty
Yeah,
easily.
yeah, for sure. Um, so like you go on, you won 4 titles in high school, but like heading into high school, was that a goal? Like I want to win 4 state titles, or did you have goals, or what was the approach like going into high school?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I mean, being a 4-time state champ was always the goal since I was a little kid. Honestly, I didn't think all my cousins were 2-timers. There's only been one 4-timer at my school prior to me, Jeff Newby. He's been the head of Wrestle Utah for a really long time, but he was the 4-time state champ. Hadn't been a 3-timer at my high school since like 1953. So it's kind of like a curse. There was like all you can be at Box Elder is a 2-timer, and so that was like I wanted to be 4-time state champ, and then you know I almost outgrew my goal in the sense that like that was obviously still there. I still want to be a 4-time state champ, but then it was like I want to win Fargo, and then it was I want to win every tournament that I'm going to, and I want to do this and that, and so yeah, it was definitely a goal since I was a little kid to be a state champ.
Sure. With all this family influence, brother, cousins, and two-time state champs, and so you're looking up at them. That's what you want to do. Did any of them go on beyond high school and compete in college, and or have, because you're continuing to look up at them, and maybe at some point you surpassed what they did, and when did it start to set your sights on stuff they hadn't accomplished?
Yeah, so I had two cousins. I guess I had a lot of cousins, but specifically, I remember Caleb and Riley. They were both recruited. No, Riley nearly went to Cornell, and then he was just before UVU kind of got started as a program, and so he didn't. I don't think he was thinking about going there. But then my brother actually, so my brother committed to wrestle at Boise when Boise was still, pretty good. He was a two-time state champ. He had placed at Fargo, and then he while he was on his mission, he ended up going to UVU. So he wrestled at UVU. He had a couple of times like in the lineup, but like I don't. He battled injuries and dealt with a lot of that stuff. But he got to wrestle at college, and so I remember he was wrestling in college when I was like just about starting high school, and that was kind of like it was good to have a brother that had been through all that, but there was definitely kind of like a thing of like my goals are, I think, higher at this point, than just be a wrestler in college. It was, go and do something there.
Sure, and then that's good. That makes sense. So there's the mission, right? You took a mission. Correct me if I'm wrong. Right after your senior year of high school. So I'm curious what the recruiting process is like. Does it start prior to the mission, and you're talking to these coaches saying, "Hey, there's going to be 2 years," and or during your mission or at the end? How does recruiting go for you, like time wise?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it kind of differs per person, like depending on like how valued they are as a recruit and that. And I was having conversations as soon as I was in kind of like the while I was in the process. So I would get calls from schools, and I would tell them early on, like, "Hey, I'm considering this. I'm considering going on a mission." And rightfully so, a lot of schools were like, "Well, we don't want to work with that, right? Like, we don't want to create a timeline that's going to be so extended, right?" And I ended up getting, my five big schools. The five that I went on visits to were schools that had already kind of dealt with missionaries at some point, right? And so, Adam Hall had teammates at NC State at the time,
Yeah.
and he was recruiting me to that. And so he kind of had a plan. Manning had oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name, Greco guy back in the day. He had dealt with a couple missionaries. Cornell had dealt with a few. Um, and then Fresno State, Jason Chamberlain was assistant at the time, and he had dealt with some. So that was kind of like, I think that they could see a vision and a timeline. Hey, he'll be gone for 2 years. Some schools were like, we want you to wrestle a year and then go on a mission. And that was ultimately kind of one of the reasons why I went to Nebraska, is because they were pretty open with me making my own decision about it and kind of, hey, you know, this is our timeline for you, and you can kind of make it work how you want. But yeah,
So
I ended
you
up
you co-
signing and committing before. Go
yeah.
ahead.
So knowing that you would be the class of 2 years later, basically, you would
Yeah,
be the incoming class. Yeah, 2 years later. Okay.
yeah.
Now I want
I
to
mean,
hear about
that's
the.
the thing
Go ahead.
that's.
Go ahead. You go.
I was gonna say, like, I mean, I think it's really impressive that like Snyder and Manning and those are the two coaches that are still there that recruited me, but
Yeah.
they at the time, like being able to look forward, and especially a lot of I was getting touted as like a 49-57 recruit, right? Like if you go back in time, just because I didn't really cut weight in high school, and so that was. I mean, I think it's a lot of these colleges have to deal with the fact that you have to be flexible, anyways, with the weights and the timelines of how things are going to be.
Sure. Uh, as we're in the delay, so we're talking over each other a little bit. But I want to hear about the mission itself. Like, I believe you went to Rio, but I don't know much about it. Tell me what your experience was like for those 2 years.
Yeah, so I served in Rio. You get like 6 week training. It's not really training. And then as you're sent out, uh, you have a timeline. We're supposed to wake up at 6:30. We get 30 minutes of exercise each day, and then the rest of the day is scripture study and serving the people, and walking around on the streets and eating the food that they serve you, right? And whatever that may be. And so, I went 2 years without touching a wrestling mat of any kind. I got to do jujitsu one time, and then we kind of have a leader there. And our leader said, "Hey, you can't do that anymore." So that one time was all I got because they were afraid I was going to get hurt. And so, I mean, I remember I was really diligent for the first 6 months about working out and, doing my push-ups, doing my sit-ups and all that. But 6:30 in the morning is a heck of a time to have to wake up, especially on top of how much time we're walking and doing all that stuff. And so, I really spent 2 years without really kind of having put aside the dream of being a wrestler.
Did like when you say put aside the dream, like you just kind of didn't think about it much and focused on what's right in front of you? Or do you mean I wasn't training or kind of both?
I would say both, right? Like, I think obviously I knew that like going on a mission was a potential, sacrifice to, being coming back and doing it. There's lots of really good wrestlers that have gone on missions and come back and, and it hasn't panned out. So that was definitely like something that I was accepting in my mind, is that like I'm kind of sacrificing a lot of what I had before, right? There's a strong possibility I'm not going to be good. And then, yeah, I mean, it was hard to think in the future, partially just because of like what I was doing at the time was so far away from being a wrestler, right? Like I was trying to be as, kind and like as least self-centered. At least I'm trying not to think of myself all the time, and wasn't thinking about my exercise, wasn't thinking about necessarily how I can make my body, better in any which way. And I was just so different than the lifestyle I live right now, I would say.
Sure. And I'm just thinking, I don't know a whole lot about missions. I understand the concept, but is it more for you to go work on yourself, right? Or is it for you to help other people, or a combination? And if so, is 50-50? Is it there,
I mean, I would say the philosophy is that if you go and you dedicate 2 years of your life into helping other people, that is the best thing that you could do for yourself, right? Like, I think the idea is go and forget about yourself for 2 years, and you'll be a better person for the rest of your life for it, right? And I agree with that philosophy in the sense that, like, I grew up so much mentally and spiritually because I wasn't concerned about myself, right? And because of that, I think that's, I learned a lot more about myself, and I learned a lot more about how, what makes someone happy isn't necessarily being self-gratifying, but rather, helping others is probably the greatest thing for the soul.
sure. And when you say helping others, right? Are you feeding people? Are you helping build stuff? Are you just talking with them and hearing their feelings and helping that way, or kind of a little bit of everything?
A little bit of everything, but I would definitely say the thing we did the most was talking, right? Like, um, and that was part of the journey, right? Is having to learn Portuguese and become fluent in Portuguese. And so I
Oh man.
had to. Yeah, that was a first aspect of the journey. But, you know, I mean, yeah, I mean, I got to have to listen to and help these people out, and, and obviously the goal was to bring others unto Christ, and that can be done a lot of different ways. Um, but I think, the main way is helping them, get through a lot of, what they're currently going through, and listening to them, and just helping them feel God's love.
What did you learn from that experience, or take from it, or how did that help you grow? Or open-ended question here.
Yeah. That it's such a great question because I feel like on any given day I could give like 1,000 different answers. It was an incredible experience that I learned so much. And like, if someone were to ask me like the number one thing I learned, it was from talking to these people, was I think that the most important thing you can do is surround yourself with the right people. Um, and that applies to, I wanted to be around certain people for, my career. Um, I would say the most important decision I made is, choosing who I was going to marry, and on top of that, like, yeah, I would say like choose who you're going to surround yourself with, because I think on top of like growing mentally and learning to be extremely empathetic and sympathetic to a lot of people, as well as seeing a lot of different perspectives, the thing that I kept coming across was the people that chose to surround themselves with certain people or good people, and the people that chose to uh, yeah, exactly. Like be around certain people, their lives were just elevated, right? And I think, I mean, you can see the success of a lot of people come from who they surround themselves with. I think there's a reason why I think Penn State succeeds so much on the level that they do is partially because when you surround yourself with the greatest, you're going to create more greatness.
I love it. Yes, surrounding yourself by good people. Okay, let's so you do your mission, you come back, now you're going to Nebraska. Like, where's your head at with wrestling? Because you kind of put it on the shelf for 2 years. Were you nervous about how you were going to be? What did it feel like the first time you got on the mat? How quickly did it come back? Kind of fill me in here.
Yeah, I definitely. So I remember being like nervous that I was just like gonna not pan out, right? Because I'd seen that happen so many times that you had these guys that were really good at wrestling, but then they don't pan out. And so that was definitely like something in my mind. And I remember I got back on the mat. It was COVID. I came back during COVID,
Oh
so
God.
couldn't get into any wrestling room. My dad got the mats and we put it in a barn. And then I had a good friend of mine, Stockton O'Brien, who came and lived with me for a month. So we'd work on the farm and we'd wrestle every day. And I was, kind of getting my legs underneath me. And the wrestling came back pretty quick in the sense of like the thing we were talking about earlier, the feeling, how to do the moves. I feel like all of that came back really quick. And that was something that was a surprise to me. And then I got about 3 months of that. And then I got to go to Nebraska. It was the COVID year. It was weird. So the room was split. All of a sudden, we'd have to go in quarantine because someone got COVID. And like I said, like I remember being like, yeah, I took Ridge Lovett down the other day. I've got my wrestling back. I rode Peyton Robb out for a 30-second go. I'm back. Or, I'm figuring it out. And then competition came. And that was like the first time I realized, like, maybe I'm not, right? I think I beat Blockus in like my first match, but it was just scrambles. And then I lost to someone from Wisconsin that I should have never lost to. And then I lost to Ridge in the wrestle off. And I remember being like, I think I might just fade off into obscurity at this point, right? And then I, was blessed to have a red shirt because of having had COVID year didn't count. Next year was a red shirt. I was behind Chad Red. And, at that point, I was extremely blessed that I got these extra years because I got this time to like, is it the wrestling that I need to figure out or is it something else? Right. And in a way, I had to forget some of what I learned on my mission, right? The mission was, you need to think about others and care about others. And, you need to, try to, you want the best for everyone. But, I think that there was almost an unlearning I had to do as an athlete that I needed to be selfish, right? I needed to be obsessive about me getting what I want, right? And I think at the end of the day, that's something that was, I feel like you still got to struggle with sometimes. Is the only way to win matches is to take what you want from the other person, right? The points come when you take it.
Wrestling's so opposite from what, and you just laid it all out, but it's so opposite from what you experienced in your mission to be selfless. Think about wrestling's like, no, it's about me and F you, and I'm taking that from you. You don't have to be mean about it, but you do have to be what's the word? Not forceful, but like, yeah, you got to go take it.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's like I said. I think it makes sense why this is something that people struggle with, and it's something that's it's it's hard to say because you want to explain to people you want to be a really good person, right? And I think that still applies, and you can be a good person, you can be a good wrestler, but you know, when you're in the practice room and when you're on the mat, you know, it's not who's a better person who wins the match, right? It's the person who's willing to go and take, like I said, the other sports, it's get the ball across the line, right? Or put the ball in the net or, run faster. But like at the end of the day, the only way I can win is if I am completely callous to what this other person wants. And I take, a takedown, right? Like I'm taking you down. I'm taking those points from you.
Callous to what the other person wants. I like that.
Yeah.
Like
callous to their what they want.
Yeah. Man, okay. So this is like a good segue. I want to like move on then and really want to address. We actually got a little video clip to address this next segment. So Greg, if you want to cue this one up and let it rip.
Did you hear I finally graduated?
Yeah, and just a shade under a decade, too. All right.
You know, a lot of people go to college for 7 years.
I know. They're called doctors.
Yep.
And so obviously that's a funny bit. But what I have a serious question here is like, we've seen like, with the COVID and plus the mission, like we've seen some of these guys as they get older and at 24, 5, it doesn't always benefit them, right? Sometimes it's either the body breaks down or maybe they're tired of it, right? Whatever you want to call it. How do you feel today? As your age has impacted you for good or for bad or for indifferent?
Yeah. Obviously I read the Instagram comments and I see people, oh, he's so old, no wonder. I think that age has been a blessing in a lot of ways, but it can be a hindrance in many. I would say, I've been blessed that, the body aspect hasn't necessarily been my problem, right? And the coaches have done a good job of not running me down to the ground. But I would still say the battle that I've struggled with is a mental one. I'm 25 years old, and it's tough to get yourself up for a full season of wrestling, right? I think I'm about 20 matches into this season. It's tough to put yourself up for 20 matches, and especially ones that don't necessarily matter or that aren't for you. The duels, hey, you got to go wrestle this kid who's really tough. He's probably not going to beat you, but, we need you to win this match so we can win this duel, and there's a lot of aspects of it that are, there's a weird mental grind, a long mental grind. It's hard as I've gotten older. Right. And I even think that like, I can see why so many people could reach a really high point like I did, second in the NCAA tournament, really close, how close to an NCAA title, and then their following year is a really big struggle. And, some people could say maybe I've struggled this season. I feel like the two people I've lost to are both really, really great wrestlers, and I wouldn't attribute it to anything other than they were better than me on those days. But, it has been tough that I don't care anymore to, win this match in December. I want a do-over. I want to be back in the NCAA finals again, and I want to be wrestling Jesse Mendez again. I want to beat him there. And so the mental hurdles have been, I've done all that. I just want to do this thing again, but I have to go through everything all over again. Does that make sense?
100%.
It's, yeah. I mean, I think that's a struggle being a veteran, is that you have to do a lot of the stuff you've already done again.
Sure.
And
go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just mumbling at that point.
Yeah, same. But I mean, back like, I wrestled in college. We'd have 4-week, 6-week preseason, right? It's like to get the younger kids and everybody in shape and learn how to work hard. But it's like by the time you're fifth year senior, you're like, well, I've done this 4 times. Like, I guess what I'm getting at is I can relate, and it's like, man,
Yeah,
is there a way to fast track this? But luckily for you, Brock, we're there.
we're there.
We're there, right?
We're
You
there.
only have 2 tournaments left. Am I right?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah. So
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I've made it through, and I think I didn't do the best job that I could. I think I could have performed better in many cases, many scenarios. Um, but yeah, we've made it to the part, right, that I wanted to fast track to. I didn't want to run the stadium again. I didn't want to do that. Like you said, the preseason part, yeah, that part's brutal because it's a lot of stuff that I feel like is more for the maturing of a young mind than it is for the betterment of wrestling.
I
But we've made it
completely
there. We're
agree.
at the point where the postseason is here.
Yeah. And you brought up the two or the 4 losses to the 2 guys. Let's start with Sergio because Jesse, you're very familiar with. Man, Sergio, and there were two convincing wins on his side, I guess, or at least the one you got caught, the one he won by 3 takedowns, I think. Did he catch you off guard the first time? Did you know much about him at national duels, or what was your approach to that match, and maybe thoughts afterwards?
No, I knew that Sergio Vega was a stud, right? I think there was a lot of people online like, oh, he didn't, he looked past him. Even the coaches are like, were you looking past him? No, I've known all along that Sergio was a stud. I think that anything I can say might come across as an excuse, right? I think there was a lot going on, home arena for him, and I just kind of had like almost like I would call it a concentration sink in a match to Jesse before we were throwing the match essentially, right? Like it was just the worst vibes you could ever have. But at the end of the day, he went and he beat me in a lot of my best positions, and that's something that I have to applaud Sergio for. Is it felt like I was wrestling a younger, more hungry version of myself, right? And a taller version of myself, right? Like I feel like I'm usually a long, tall 141. He was much longer and taller. But no, I mean, I wanted someone to post a meme about it because I wanted to share it, but I just didn't do it soon enough. There's like one of my favorite movies is Logan, and it's it's obviously Wolverine when he's old, and they like create like a clone of him who's younger, faster, and can heal better. And there's like a point in the movie where they like stare at each other, and he's like scared of him, and I'm like, that's kind of what it felt like. I went in, shot, and he hit the same stuff that I hit on people, and I'm like, dang, is this what it's like to wrestle me? And then he shot in on me, and I tried doing my stuff, and he did kind of what I do to my other people, and I'm like, that was maybe the form of surprise was more, oh, this is what it's like to wrestle me. This guy's really good, And then when we wrestled in the duel and he pinned me, same thing, right? Like I've tried telling people, that loss did not hurt because I got pinned. It got hurt because I wanted to wrestle more, didn't get the chance to. But, I'm not going to take it personally as in, I've been wrestling really close matches and I've done the exact same thing that he did to me, right? Someone shoots in on your leg or, someone tries to scramble a little too long, their head gets close to their knee and that's match. And so, it's total respect for him.
Sure. Is there? And clearly, I would assume there's some sort of emphasis, or there's a lot more thought and data on Jesse. But like, is Sergio now? I wouldn't say a focus, but something where there's at least some part of the day or the week where you're like thinking about a potential match and how to rearrange how things happened.
Yeah. I think once again, like I think every loss is so beneficial for everything that can happen in your wrestling, right? Like when I lost to Jesse, the thought of the coaches and my own thought is that he is beating me he is entirely more focused than I am. But when I lost to Sergio, it was a much more like, hey, we got to get better in a lot of these positions. And so, it's two completely different problems that I have to work on. It's been really good to have to focus on then throughout the season. And then, in terms of like thinking about him specifically, like I 141 has always been a weight class where, I mean, there is no guarantee of who I'm going to have at any time, right? I mean, I think I made a mistake last year a little bit, and luckily it benefited, but I was prepared for Andrew Alirez, and then I never wrestled him because, things happened and other guys stepped up. Really at 141 this year, of the top 6 ranked guys, you have 6 different problems. You have Jesse, who has an incredible pace. You have Sergio, who is a longer version of kind of what I do, which is kind of more lanky, more, kind of scrambly wrestling, very hard to take down. You have probably the strongest pound for pound dude in the world at Enchamendia. And then you have Stanek, who I feel like I have zero data on Stanek. And so it's just, and I could keep going on and on throughout the weight class. And so it has been a situation of how do we prepare for Sergio, how to prepare for Jesse, but at the end of the day, it's how do we make Brock Hardy the best Brock Hardy?
Sure. I guess similar with Jesse, but has this just been like, I guess, when thinking about Jesse Mendez and how do we, are there positions we need to get better on? You said, I just think he's more focused, but I don't know if I know exactly what that means, but like when you look at an approach to what do I need to adjust? Is it a focus? Is it positions? You both wrestle hard.
Yeah, no, I mean, so, I think how I wrestled him at National Duels was really good. How we wrestled in the duel, and, obviously there's positions I can do better at. He came out like a shot out of a cannon, and I didn't match his intensity, right? And it's really easy to be like, look back and be like, hey man, had I just wrestled harder? Like in a way, like he came out and he had a pace that, I wasn't ready for and that I didn't match. And when you don't match it, good things start to happen for him and bad things happen for me, right? And next thing you know, I'm down 10-1 at the end of the first period, right? And that was, I go back and I watch and I go, the very first takedown, he had, kind of this front head position, and I went, okay, the position's kind of still, I'm content with being here. And he just kept going, right? And then, he wasn't content. And then I relaxed. My relaxing is not going to ever win against Jesse Mendez because he is always looking to take, right? And so anytime that I'm relaxing, and that was the second one I went to shoot and he, intensity spiked, slammed, went for the, kind of this move. And I went to, I'll just kind of finagle out of this. And then I just ended up on my back and now I'm 10-1. And, I met the intensity in the second and third period. And if you watch, the match, you can kind of see that like I was able to kind of start neutralizing a lot of the stuff as well as getting to kind of my own stuff. And so, that's potentially a problem there. But, at the same time, I know the coaches at Ohio State are really, really good. And, I can't just expect to, if I wrestle harder, I'm going to do better. Right. There's things that we've worked on, I need to finish better. I need to get my own leg attacks and so on.
Sure. Since we got you here, since we're talking about Jesse, I know it's probably been beat to death, but spladle heard around the world. Just like the reaction from like, it went viral, and I went back last night. I don't really ever watch Barstool, but I watched this, this podcast, and they went and talked about it for 20 minutes, So what was it like being in the middle of this, being on the receiving end and seeing this thing go? And I think you went on there and had a good time with it. So I don't think it's like something that's eating you up to this day, but like, man, back then there was a lot of memes and a lot of stuff going around. Blow it off? Did it kind of sting? Or is it somewhere in the between?
Yeah, it was somewhere in between. I'm not gonna say that like it doesn't bug me when someone will like bring it up, right? Like in the way of, not like you bring it up, but I'm saying like, I'll have like a little kid at a camp say something, and that might hurt worse than anything. And then like I'll get a little bugged when like a really big wrestling page reposts it again, just because they want clicks. It's a little frustrating, but at the end of the day, like I wanted to react in a way that, could help others see that like how things need to be reacted, right? Like it's okay to lose. And sometimes, I mean, everyone in wrestling's been spladled before, right? And no, maybe not everyone. I would say a lot of people have been spladled in wrestling, whether it was in the practice
Just not on
room,
ESPN.
just not on ESPN, right? And the camera didn't hold for 40 seconds. Um, but no, I think my reaction was is that, I wanted people to see that not a singular moment is defining, right? I got spladled, but I still had a tournament to wrestle. And then, you know, I'm I'm so much more than just that singular moment. And so I wanted other people to see that. And so that's kind of how I wanted to react. And I wanted to, how my actions were. And yeah, I mean, it hurts to see people make a meme out of you, but also in a way, it's kind of eye opening to make it think about all the other people that have been made memes that it's like, how unfortunate that that person, reacted in a way and it was made into a moment to be made fun of, right? When like so many other things that happen for that person day to day to day.
Well, I even before this answer right here, I thought you handled it really well, and again, even more so with this answer you gave. Like, it's an opportunity for me to display to other people how to react in a shitty moment, or when the world's coming at me, and you didn't throw a fit, you didn't cry, you didn't like it, but you somewhat leaned into it and accepted it. So I appreciate that about you.
Thank you. Thank you. Like I said, I think that being, wanting pity or wanting anything like that, like, yeah, man, I got. It happens to the best of us. And it was a funny moment, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Hats off to you. Okay, so this is the final run at Big Tens and Nationals, and just you do have experience. You have been there. You've medaled 3 times, and you've been you wrestled on Saturday night. How can the experience you've had? How can that help you this March? Over the last however many times you've done this.
Yeah, I mean, of course, everything I'm gonna say, I still have to do. But I think that the blessing of having wrestled there 3 times, having done what I've done so far, is that a lot of the nervousness doesn't need to be there, right? And I think I did a really good job of that last year. I think why I wrestled so well is that I've done everything but win, and so I don't need to wrestle as if I'm holding on to something, as if I'm trying to defend something. I've been an All-American. Who cares to do that again, right? I've made it to the finals. Who cares to do it again? The only thing I want to do is win an NCAA title, and that's something you have to take. And so I feel like I get to approach this tournament with, every single person is a person in the way, and I got to go take it from them too. And then I got to go take it from the next person. And, I think, like I kind of was saying earlier, like everyone in this weight class has got something to bring. And so you take it one match at a time, and every single person, you go out there and you try to score as many points as you can and have as much fun as you can, and then on to the next.
You said, I think one thing I can take is don't get so nervous, which is easier said than done. But take me back to your first year going to the NCAAs, and if it was overwhelming or if you got nervous, and how those those feelings compared to either last year or the nerves you feel this season or lack thereof.
Yeah. I would say, surprisingly, I was very nervous throughout this season. But I think it was because of this thing I was just saying that I was doing wrong, in the sense, a lot of holding on, right? Like, hey, you're supposed to win, or, hey, just hang on until the postseason, because that's that's what you're waiting for. The anxiety of the first time I went to the NCAA tournament, thank goodness I had great coaches and great teammates that helped me just, see, hey, there's no being anxious is okay, because it means you're doing something that you care about. And then on top of that, there's no point in, being so anxious that you tighten up, because, you've dreamt about this moment your whole life. You've wanted to wrestle in this tournament. You get to wrestle on these nice blue mats that they make every single year. Go out and, do your thing. Why would you, get to the moment that you've always wanted to be at, and then, want to, do as little as possible to get by, right? Like this is your moment to do all that you can to get by, right? Like go and try to score as many points as possible, shoot as many shots as you can. You know, if you've got to move, send it kind of moment.
I love it. I love it. And excited for you to watch you compete at the Big Tens and Nationals. Regardless of what happens, what's next? Do you want to wrestle freestyle? Do you want to go to get a job? Do you want to coach? Do you want to, I don't know.
Yeah. You know, I want to stay around the wrestling world. I do want to go compete more, right? Last year was kind of like a little bit of a testing moment, right? Like surprisingly enough, I have not wrestled in a lot of out of folk style stuff, right? I think I've only competed in 4 tournaments outside of folk style stuff since I got back from my mission since 2018. And U23s was good when I went that year, but at the same time, like in my head, I go, you know, what am I there? I don't really want to be someone, especially, you know, having a family. Like I don't want to, you know, be chasing a fruitless dream if I'm not close. And last year was a good sign to me, like, hey, you know, you lost to Rio by I think 3 or 4 points. That's a world bronze medalist. You know, you're right there. And so it was a good sign to me to say, hey, let's chase our Olympic dream. That's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna, you know, I want to be an Olympic gold medalist, and it's always been a dream of mine. I wasn't going to chase it if it wasn't close, but I think I'm there.
I love it. I love it. I think, yeah, you're absolutely close enough to chase it without a doubt. Okay. I got a couple, well, they're on topic, but they're just not quite, we kind of ran through chronologically. I got some side games, whatever. We're going to call them little random questions. The first one is just like, we're in the dawn of artificial intelligence. AI's like, I don't know. How do you use AI, Brock, today in any facet of your life?
I I don't know if this is a normal answer. I try to avoid AI as much as possible. Um, I think that AI is a great tool that's going to be used for a lot of things. Um, I think, I guess that I'm trying to think of when I use AI. There's probably ways I could use it better as a tool, but I definitely use it for my random ADHD web searches, right? Google AI just automatically
there's a million ways to use
fills
it.
out the information. Yeah. That's probably the
So what does it do?
best time I use AI. Well, like I'll be like, hey, like, tell me about, or I'll just Google like, hey, I think I used it last night. I was trying to figure out, has there ever been a, what is it exactly? Just like random trivia. I'm a trivia guy. I like random information, random bits of information about like football or wrestling. I think one of the times I was helping using AI to be like, hey, what's like the average time frame for coach gets hired as a football coach at a college program and then they win a national title. So I got a little cool information that, you know, it was like the average is 5 years.
Wow.
So usually they're hired, win a national title in 5 years. Very rarely does it happen after a long period of time.
Yeah. I mean, the answer is I just kind of started asking this, and then this might be the second time, but I'm going to ask it, and I feel like every week and every month and it's going to like keep changing. So I was curious, and I appreciate you giving your answer. Excuse me. You also said you like trivia, which is great because our next segment is trivia. I like to call this one
Sweet.
"Sweat It Out." I got 5 questions. We're trying to make you sweat. Brock, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Question number 1. Looking at the Nebraska wrestling coaching staff, your coaches, how many world or Olympic medals combined does this staff have?
Does James have 1 or 2? So you got James and Tervel. I know Snyder and Manning don't have any. Okay. Gosh, Tervel had so many teams. Like, oh. Also, Tervel got one later.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna guess 5.
He got it. James Green has 2. Tervella has 3, including that 2012 Olympic bronze, which was later awarded to him because the guy failed the drug test. All right, 1 for 1. But you're already sweating, I can tell. All right, you got 4 more. These don't get any easier. All right, maybe they do, but let's stick them with Nebraska. In 2025, Nebraska won 2 individual NCAA titles, right, last year. There was one other year where Nebraska had 2 champions. Can you name either the year or the people who won NCAA titles in the same year at Nebraska?
They're up on the wall. I usually see them every single day. I should be able to answer this. So
Yes,
JB was alone.
you don't.
Yeah, my brain just doesn't even think about it. Okay, JB was alone. I know that. Donahoe was alone as well. And then catfish guy, fisherman guy, Powell. Jason Powell was alone, I'm pretty sure. And
I used to
then
wrestle Jason. I never beat him.
he's very good, very funky, I've heard. I wish he would have got. He was actually the coach when I was getting recruited here, and then he wasn't here when I got.
Catfish,
I want to say. So Snyder took second a couple times. I don't think anyone won around when Snyder was on the team, other than his freshman year when Tolly Thompson won in like '98. Did someone else win with Tolly? And then before that would have been like the '80s. I know for a fact it happened in the '80s with the 2 brothers.
This is like Who Wants to Be Millionaire. You're just talking it out loud. You're getting there.
I think it was those. I think it was those brothers. Why can't I think of their name? Oh, they also were on world teams. They also, I think they might have even had a world medal at some point. But I cannot for the life of me think of their names or the year. Would it have been like 88? No, it's more like 84. Oh my gosh. Why can't I think of their names? Oh my gosh. 84? 84?
84. You're looking down.
Okay.
You caught it. It was Jim and Bill Shear, 1984.
Yes, okay.
All right. That was, bro, we're only 2 questions in. All right. Yeah. All right. Here we go. You'll maybe or maybe not appreciate this one. In the 2011 Senior World Championships, there was a guy on Team USA. He put his opponent in a spladle, a very similar one. Do you know who that person was? U.S. guy spladled somebody else in the 2011 Worlds.
Spladled everyone back in the day. But I need to think of their name. I know that he's kind of like, he has like a meaner face. Let me go down the 2011 team. Tervella obviously would have been the heavyweight, I think. Wasn't him. Wasn't Kale. Was Kale 97 or was Varner at 97?
Kale was you're right. Yeah. No, Kale was 84.
Kale was 84 because he went lighter.
Whatever, 86, whatever it was that year.
Wasn't Varner or Kale. Wasn't JB. Oh my gosh, what's his name? White guy, tall and skinny white guy. Maybe he's like a strawberry blonde. I want to say did he train out of like, oh, what's his name?
You're getting everything right so far. Yep.
Was he sick? Was he 57 kilos or 61?
It was 55 back in the day, but he was lightweight.
Dang. How the heck was he making 55?
How the heck this guy ever made 55 is crazy. Because it's like 125 or something.
Oh my goodness. Does he runs a club now, doesn't he? I always see him around.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. He's down in
down
in the southern part of the state he's in, I think. I don't actually know. I shouldn't say that.
Is he a Cali guy? He's a Cali guy, isn't he?
Big Ten guy. He's a Big Ten guy. Grew up in Big Ten country as well.
Oh, I'm way
Not a
off.
Cali guy. But everything else is you're thinking of the right guy.
For some reason, I think he's a Cali guy. So not in Nebraska, not Iowa, not Minnesota, not Wisconsin. I can't think of his name. You're gonna have to give it to me.
The East Lansing Strangler was his nickname.
Oh my gosh, that's a crazy nickname. Yes, he's the Michigan State. Michigan State.
There you go. Yeah, you're all around it, man. He had a brother who was pretty good. He's probably a four-time All-American, I think. Nick Simmons.
Simmons. Did he coach at Indiana for a while? Didn't he?
Did he? I'm not sure they did. He might have.
I know that Liam
But
Cronin,
the tall guy, skinny guy, strawberry blonde, you got it. You're picturing the right guy. Struggling on his name. That's all right. All right.
I'm glad in that video this photo pops up, not me. Nick Simmons, I'm sorry for not remembering his name. Played on me.
Sure. Hey, Greg, let's play that clip real quick, just so you can see it. We got this. There's the guy's from Moldova. He had no idea.
Oh.
And just same thing. They sat there for a minute, and Nick's not being nice. He's just Tony Rotundo's shooting straight. Anyways, all right, we can clip that.
Classic.
Yeah. All right, 2 for 3, 2 left. Number 4. Brock, who was the last? Talking NCAA Division I national champions. Who was the last bald NCAA Division I national champion?
Oh,
come on now. I'm having fun.
Oh, let me think about that. Okay, 25. Oh, well, it depends on whether or not you classify Parker Keckheisen as bald that year, because it was.
Yes,
it was.
Was
that it? Parker Keckheisen?
That's the answer. That's a little bit more than a shaved head. Yeah, we're gonna call it.
He was like me, but he wasn't shaving it yet, and I was like, "Come on, man, you got to let that thing go. You got to shave that head now." Yeah, who would it have been before that?
Oh God, Kale. I don't know. I don't know if Kale was bald back then, but before that, man, it would. I don't even. I can't. I don't know, bro. I have this one written down.
I got to help the bald people statistics out and do it this year. So
yeah. There you go. I was gonna say that. So you guys got to be the next one. All right, 3. What are we? 3 for 4, I think. Last one. 4. Okay, back to Nebraska. How we all know about JB. How many world or Olympic gold medals come out of Nebraska? Guys that graduated from Nebraska.
Do you count Rulon or do you not count Rulon?
Yeah. He won men's, women's, Greco. Obviously, no women's coming out of Nebraska yet, but yeah, Greco, freestyle, whatever.
We claim Rulon, even though I think he only wrestled here for like a year. All right. So Rulon's one.
I've seen his name on the wall, so.
Yeah. Wait. So world and Olympic. And they count as both one, right? So.
No. If like JB, each year he won counts as one.
Yeah. Okay. So JB has won. Oh shit! JB won 7. He won 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2017. Was 2018 the first year that Sidakov beat him? I think he's at 7, 8 for Rulon. James has a silver. Let's go back farther. Oh, but you also had the Greco. There was a couple Greco dudes. Did they ever win it? Like Lillard and the other big guy, other bald guy? No, I don't think they did. 8. Now we got to go back to the old. I was talking about the Scher brothers. Did the Scher brothers do it or not? Oh, I want to say that one of them got a medal, but I don't know if they won it. I'm going to think that they won it. 9. And then you go way back to like this one dude that's on the wall. I'm going to put a guess in. I'm at 9 in my head, but I'm just going to think maybe 10. Is it 10?
Bro, you nailed it. JB's got 7. Rulon has 2. So he won that Olympics, but he also won a world once.
That's true. He won worlds in
this is
following year.
Yeah. And then Jim, I think it was Jim Scheer. One of the Scheer brothers won in 84 or whatever. Scheer had 1, Rulon had 2, and Jordan, you got it right, had 7. So 10. All right, you're rocking and rolling. Oh, that's it. All right.
Hey.
You did it. Was that 5 out of 7? No, I mean 3 out of 5. What am I? Got my math off here.
4 out of 5. I got my bald guy.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Which one did you
I
miss?
only missed out on Simmons, and he's gonna
Nick
hunt me
Simmons.
down.
All
and
right.
cut
This is
sweat
worth
on
the
me.
belly pat. Yep. Okay. Okay. This is an easy one. So we just call this one all-time favorite. Brock, who's your all-time favorite wrestler?
Probably, I'm gonna say an American. I could say a couple of Russians because I think that they wrestle really cool. I'll say Kale. I'll say Kale is my favorite wrestler. Ahead of his time.
That's
Everyone talks about his ankle pick, but he was so good at every aspect of wrestling. He was incredible. Ahead of his time.
yeah. It was just a couple of years ago. Something I just went on this YouTube because there's not a ton of Kale matches out there, right? Today there's a million Brock matches on Flow and YouTube and everywhere else, but Kale there's like 10 or I don't know how many, but just I wish there was so many more because you go watch me like wow, the fluidity and the way he just it was awesome, amazing, great answer. Okay, another one. This one I like to call wins and whoopins. So for your own career, from the very first match you ever wrestled when you were 3 till the last one you wrestled in a duel, whenever your last duel was, think of one win that stands out as memorable. It can be national semifinals or Big Ten finals, but it could be like a comeback in grade school or beating a kid. It could be anywhere in your whole. But just man, I remember this win for whatever reason, and then an ass whooping. We've all got our ass whooped once or twice, and it stunk. And here I am asking you about it. One win, one whooping. You can do either one first.
All right. One win. I will say that so many. I'm gonna say that the win that kind of stands out in my head right now was I got a win over Sammy Sasso in the Fargo finals in 2016. That one stands out. That was like one that was kind of like, yeah, I'm with these guys. I can do it too. I think you were calling on that match. I think you were there.
I think you're right. Yeah, that's fantastic.
So that's the win, and then a butt whooping. I could do a couple of these. There's a lot of these ones out there too, but I remember specifically I was in sixth or seventh grade, wrestling at Virginia Beach Duels, and my dad set up a exhibition with Nick Lee, and he was a couple years older, and I think we were about the same weight. He might have been a weight class above me, and he beat the tar out of me like I hadn't been beat in like years. And I think nothing is better for you than like a butt whooping by someone in your competition because nothing makes you go, oh, there's the next level. That's what I got to get to, right? And so that was kind of like a moment of like Nick Lee beating the crap out of me, going, oh, I've been beating all these guys, doing this or that. I still got a lot more to go. So I think that was like one of the first ones that I've had in a while. Like I'd lost close matches to Whit Lake and other guys, in the West, but he beat me bloody, and it was what I needed.
How old do you think you were?
I would have been 12, 13, or I think I was 12 or 13.
Okay.
Nick would have been 14.
Just kind of coming into like, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Needed it.
Excellent. You don't think you needed it at the time, but looking back, you're like, actually, okay, that's what I needed. It freaking sucked. That was good for me.
We're frozen.
Okay, well, that's all right because
go.
we're back. All right, and really, we're down to the end. This has been a lot of fun, and I've been wanting to have you on for a while because I like watching you wrestle, I like your personality, and I've been wanting to, just get to know you better and hear your story. But is there anything else you want to, I'm going to kind of leave you with the last word. Anything else to tell your people about yourself? Anything you want us to know? Shout out, tell me a joke, whatever.
Yeah, I'll leave a little note. I mean, I want people to love wrestling, right? And I want them to love the sport. And I've been saying for a couple years now, my little motto is wrestling is fun. And I want people to see that wrestling is fun, but it's not fun when just because you win. And it's not fun just because you do cool moves. Wrestling is fun because there's nothing more like self-gratifying than getting better at something and knowing that it was on you, right? Like you got to do that thing, you got to get better at that thing, and even better, that thing is really hard. Wrestling is so hard. Nothing about it really feels easy. Cutting weight isn't easy. The practices are really hard. A match is really hard. But it's, I think that if more people could just fall in love with something that is so hard yet self-gratifying, they could apply it to the rest of their lives. I think that day-to-day life is really hard, and paying bills is hard and going to work is hard. But if you find joy and love in life and you find life to be fun, that it's just everything about your life becomes greater, and then you become more grateful for what you get to do each day.
Man, I couldn't have said it any better. There's no better. Oh, you got something else to say?
No, that was it. I should leave it at that.
Yeah, that was awesome. Let's close it out. Brock, thank you. That was awesome. Best of luck at Big Tens, NCAAs. We'll be watching, and freestyle after that, man. Excited to see things go.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on, and thank you for, helping expand and grow this sport. I love it.
Happy to do it. Thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Brock Hardy. That's do it, and that's going to do it for today's show. We'll see y'all next time. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye-bye.